morning, me again. Right, I hope you all got the English that I've sent you a photo of. That's your work from yesterday that I did as well, so you can see how it goes. Pick me up on any mistakes, you never know. Right, we're going to move on from what we learnt yesterday, and today we're going to look at more complex relative clauses. And I mentioned these yesterday and said we would be coming onto them. And these are relative clauses that start with the relative pronouns whom and whose. So first of all, we're going to look at whom. Now, we can all use who really, really well now, and you practiced that yesterday. And people that sent me photos of their work, you did fantastically, and I loved seeing what you'd done. So I've written one out with who. The man who scared me had 3 eyes. It would be quite scary. But what if I wanted to turn that round? What if he didn't scare me? What if I was pretty scary and scared him? I still want the man to be the subject of my main clause. My main clause is still the man had 3 eyes. But this time I want to put in a relative clause that shows that I scared him. So for our relative clause, I'm doing the scaring and he is going to be the object, but only in the relative clause. So when that's the case, you would use whom. Now, we don't use it very often in everyday speech. Most of the time, people don't use it at all. But when you're writing, particularly if you're doing formal writing, that's when you would want to use it correctly. Okay? So, how am I going to do that? It's really, really simple. Watch. The man, instead of who, whom, because we have to start with our relative pronoun, whom I scared. Had 3 eyes. Simple as that. If the subject of your main clause, the man had 3 eyes, is going to be the object of your relative clause. I know it's quite complex, but it's not. Just think about it really in small steps. Subject of the main clause, but I am the subject of the relative clause because I'm doing the scaring. So our man becomes whom. Okay? Shall I do one more? Right, just bear with me. I need to think of one very quickly. Let's have a look. You can't see a thing when I'm writing. I will try and write sideways. The lady whom I ran over, whoops, was fine. Phew, good job. Okay, so again we can see the lady was fine. Main clause is staying the same. The lady is the subject. I'm doing the running over. For our relative clause, which is in between the commas, I'm the subject, she's the object, so we use whom. Okay, that's whom. Now let's look at whose. You all use this. This one isn't like whom that we don't use when we're talking. We all use whose all the time. All I'm doing is trying to make you understand what it is, because at some point you would need to be able to name exactly what you're doing when you're at St John's doing a bit more complex English. So I'm going to write a sentence up that includes whose. So the girl, again, I'm using commas because it is a subordinate clause. I am separating it out. Relative clauses are a type of subordinate clause. Our main clause still makes sense without it. The girl. Even teachers make mistakes. End of my clause. So the girl whose pants were on fire ran really fast. You probably would if your pants were on fire. Okay, so it's still a relative clause. It's starting with a relative pronoun, this time whose. And whose shows possession. So we're talking about something that belongs to the girl who's the subject of our main clause. And actually, we're talking about her pants. The girl whose pants were on fire ran really fast. I don't think you'll have any problem with those because you use it all the time. Okay? Another one? Do you want one more? Mrs. Sinclair. Whose son is Danny? What have I been doing? What do I need? Needs a nap. Very true. Mrs. Sinclair, whose son is Danny, needs a nap. Again, we're showing possession. Danny is my son. I'm the subject of the main clause. Mrs. Sinclair needs a nap. And he is my son. So whose son is Danny? Okay, I think you'll be absolutely fine and you will see the work that I've set for you in a minute. Any problems, give me a shout and I'll be reading you your story in a little bit. Bye guys.